So amazing. So this is the street right in front of Julie's house, okay? Over here is the house across the street. This is what across the street looks like. That's 180 back up the street. Now I'll go back to looking down the street, and this is over Julie's house. All right, hi, I'm Chris, and I'm going to attempt to do a very short walkthrough of this document. So what I want to show you is that there's a lot here. It's a document that's about kind of going through several sheet panels to see the best of what I can give you of what I recorded of the work I did in trying to make rain with trees and bring rain to droughted areas in the summer of 2022. This is just page one. This is the main notes page. The second tab here is called Contents and Research. And what you are going to want to do, I think, if you get into this document is use the tool to increase and decrease the size of the font. This is really kind of like a title page. This just gives you a quick explanation of what I'm doing, the table of contents, the research that I'm rooted in, the research that I have already written and done that led up to this project, 2 studies in particular that are part of a larger piece. I've got 2 research works that I consider to be important. One is a paper in 2016 called The Systemic Climate Solution, and another is a paper in 2021 called The Value of Biosphere Earth. And again, that research led to this basic principle of how ecosystems and organisms share moisture across landscapes. You can use the third sheet to see synopses of some major events. You're going to go left to right. What I've done here is just try to put in a few photos to summarize kind of these unique experiences in simple terms. The notes document over here, panel number 1 or sheet number 1 is super dense. But these synopses are really simple. And so for someone who just wants to get a sense of what's happening, you can go into this page, look for the color bar up top to show you what exactly I'm claiming was triggered by my work, and then find the big color and just read from left to right across. So for instance, site number 1 in Austin, way back in June 2022, this is the progression of events that took place. Site number 3 in Dripping Springs on July 10th, 2022, accidentally generated rain. It was 104 in Austin, and I was doing the strategic waterings, and this is what happened. So you can watch this video, but I'm just going to fast forward all the way to the end here. At about 4:30 in the afternoon. That's heavy. At this point, the rain turns into a downpour. So amazing. And now we're getting serious rain, bro. That's something I've never said is bro.
I have a solution.
That's how excited I was when this happened.
Good.
All right, so that's just one event. That's way back in July 10 of 2022. And just more here in the synopses document. Now I don't have everything here, but again, this is a simplified version of the notes document just to give people a sense of how things change consistently. There's a bunch of variables and a bunch of variations, but there's a consistent pattern of essentially starting with a dry sky, building up slow clouds, and then bringing rain. So check that out. Over here, this P and HT is principles and how-to. The how-to, I wrote way back in 2022. And so I left this in here. I haven't even edited this yet because I just want to go back and review it. But it's the bones of this whole thing at its genesis. So check that out if you're interested. The final tab here is called NorCal Plan. This is for something I'm going to show you in just a moment. I went to Northern California to water and try to prevent wildfire season from middle of September through October, when it's often at its worst in California, and was successful. This is the wildfire map the day before I got there in California. I lucked out and there was rain in the forecast by the time I arrived, coming from Alaska, but the probability of rain falling was less than 5% for this time of year. And as everyone knows, wildfire is extreme in California historically during the fall months. So I went specifically to this region up here north of San Francisco around Fort Bragg, and laterally to the east from there, to try and create a moisture wall that would flow down the vegetation and knock out all these fires. After I did these transpiration waterings, There was 1 fire in my region and only 6 in all of California south of where I watered for the rest of the year. And that is a historic change. It only rained for 3 days after I did the waterings here, which I'm going to explain a little more in a moment. But then it was dry again for 6 weeks and still there was no fire. And I think there's a lot in this for anyone who's really interested in the science and really interested in where we should be looking for a better future. Now, let me jump over to the notes document. I want to take the last minutes of this video and give you a sense of how to navigate this thing. So again, use the perspective tool. This is really made for a big screen, this document, because it's got so much in it. I tried to accommodate phones, but the phone is this wide and the information is wide and deep. So I recommend looking at this on a computer. So this began as an application of the science. And in this particular page, page 1 of the spreadsheet, there are 3 sections. Section 1 is the overview and background. Section 2 is projects, sites, and outcomes. And section 3 is all of the notes and documentation I have for the 2022 waterings that I did. I just encourage you to read through this stuff. I tried to make it simple to go, again, from left to right, except for this one thing where the arrows are going down. This, again, is showing a real simple process. These photos are from 2023. But I arrive at a site, it's not in great shape. I do the waterings, the big clouds form over the trees. You can see this hazy mist, and then there's intense rain. That's my soaked swimsuit. And there's video for this. You'll get to see when the 2023 notes come out. How I got here, this is the somewhat longer version story of the science that led to what I'm doing. Who I am. I'm Chris Searles again. I'm the researcher, I'm the creator, I'm the manager, I'm the practitioner of this Green Rainmakers project. And there are 6 major changes that are taking place. I'll explain that in a future video, or you can read them here. The calendar of what took place and when, obviously. The time frame is of this document is between May 1st and October 31st of 2022. There are 8 project sites in 3 different areas. Group 1 is in Central Texas, Group 2 is in Southwest Missouri, and Group 3 is in mid-northern Central California that I mentioned. Okay, so then you go to Section 2. We have sites, projects, and outcomes. Site 1 is in South Austin. Site 2 is in North Austin. Site 3 is in Dripping Springs, Texas. Site 4 is just outside of Springfield, Missouri. Site 5 and Site 6 are in Willits, California. Site 7 is in Fort Bragg, California. And Site 8 is in Colusa, California. So just 8 sites for the year. This outcomes piece is where we're going to focus for the rest of the video. This will give you a sense of how to use the notes below. What you've got in each one of these blocks is a quick little summary of what happened. And then now let me explain this toolbar up here at the very top that's colorful. See, the notes move underneath the toolbar. When you get to section 3 in a moment, the notes and documentation, that's when the toolbar matters. That's when these colors are there to help you quickly find the outcome you're looking for. So for instance, this is dark blue. I'm going to turn the ink white because I wanted to focus on this one. But dark blue means heavy rain, or rain I think I can claim. Significant rain. And so this particular box, this is on August 19th. I'm claiming that I triggered rainfall. The day began with a 70% chance of rain in the forecast at 4 p.m. No rain came at 4 p.m. So at 4:45, I started watering, and it literally, there was a thunderstorm boom. The rain began falling right overhead and lasted on our site for 3 hours. LCRA showed no rain. Austin showed, I think, 0.3 inches. Now, what you can do, see, is go August 19th. All right. Scroll all the way over to the edge here and then scroll down into the notes and documentation. Let me fix this again, perspective-wise. So now we're looking at dates on the far left here. We're in July and we're looking for August 19th. And I just go down, down, down. And here we are, August 19, and I'm going to change my perspective again and go across here. So here's the longer form. I appeared to trigger thunderstorm rains and extremely heavy rains over where I was living at the time, which is Site 1. And then this is more detail. And this is screenshots showing what was happening at the time, as well as more video links. This is when the rain begins.
Rain is back. I had an 80% chance of thunderstorms. I watered canopy for about 7 minutes.
70% chance.
We'll see. I'm gonna walk over here real fast.
Okay, so that's one. And then just moments later, here's video number 2. That was at 4:57 p.m. This is 5:11 p.m.
The serious downpour came back. I am not going to stay out long. It's flooding here on this little landscape. It's raining hard. I'm getting soaked. I'm standing under a tree. Green rain.
That's site number 1, and Austin shows 0.31 inches for the day. LCRA shows 0 for the area. Okay, let's look at another one here. This is Project 10 or P10. I'm sharing this because this is an enormously bold claim to make, but check this out. On August 22nd in Austin, site number 1, I think I triggered rainfall and increased the transpiration-based rain generation over the entire area of Austin. So the story in Synopsis is that I watered in the morning and the afternoon. There was no heavy rain in the forecast at all. I'm going to show you this in a second. At 8:30 in the morning, there was a 30% chance of rain at noon only. When I finished watering the second time at 5 p.m., there was still no rain, but 20 minutes later, the downpour came, and Austin ended up with nearly 4 inches of rain this day. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here again. Scrolling down, looking for August 22nd or P10, Project 10, and there's no notes specifically, but what I do have for you, August 22, scrolling across, I've got these images of what actually happened. So here we are, first thing in the morning-ish, 8:30 a.m. You can see the 30% chance of rain for the whole day. 5:09 p.m. I finished watering, still no rain in the forecast for the day, okay? 12 minutes later, this starts happening. This thing just explodes, this system across this huge area. Now that may sound really wild, but I'm going to show you something in a moment that could really be a game changer for people. Again, Austin got 4 inches of rain. One of our sites got, or 3.7 inches of rain, something like that. One of our sites got nearly 2.5 inches of rain. We're very excited about that. So then let's go back up here to the last one I want to show you on how to use this document to learn stuff. If you look at P20, this is the big deal of this whole exercise here that I want people to understand. I had already seen indicators of this, and so this is why I went to California. Here's my story. I went to California to try and prevent wildfire season. I had done the research, I had done the experimentation in Texas and Missouri to see that it was possible to catalyze rain and to get rain to fall when it was in the air or in the clouds. So I went out there with these techniques, and I strategically set things up so that it would ideally rain across the entire region. And let me show you what I mean by that. If we go over to the NorCal plan, first what I want to show you is where I set up strategically. Now, I could only fly into Sacramento. I had to set up everything logistically according to the water and the truck and getting from site to site within a day to try and make this happen over a short period of time. So I flew into Sacramento, I drove up to Ukiah, I got water, then I went to Willits and watered the first day. Second day, Fort Bragg and Willits, and I did that for 3 days. And then the 5th and 6th days, I did Colusa. The theory here again is that I'm going to water across this region of vegetation, and the vegetation will share the moisture with the shape of the passive winds. The winds come in from the ocean and from the north to the south. And so that's essentially what I'm showing with these arrows. I'm trying to move moisture across the entirety of the landscape there. And what that looks like when it when it happened is this, but let me show you. This is the morning of the 18th. The rains come early morning, about 4:45, 4:30 in the morning. Everybody's getting rain after, people thinking it would never happen. There was a less than 5% chance of rain falling in Fort Bragg at this time. So here's my 3 sites, and you can see they're roughly marked there. Fort Bragg, Willits, and Colusa. Now you can see in the next image over how this scales with the cold front or the low pressure system that's moving in, which I am claiming to have affected. So if you can see here, this low pressure system actually goes down to Mexico, the size of it. The water coming in is coming from Alaska, the moisture in the air. I'm trying to get it to fall over my area, make landfall. Now this one shows you what happened. And as you can see, the system of moisture that's coming down all the way from Alaska. So I'll show you the big picture on that. Look, this is the giant shape of the moisture flow. It is from Alaska to Mexico, this pattern. And what you see in the image right next to it is that it culminates at Fort Bragg. It literally goes whoosh right into the coastline where I am. The moisture is moving across the ocean towards California and down the coast from Alaska. We're trying to get it to fall, and it succeeds. It succeeds brilliantly. This massive distance, this massive amount of moisture, and it falls with this pattern landing right, making contact right at the coastline where we are. This is the big claim. This is the distance again. Here's the moisture way up in Alaska. This is the distance that way down here where we are. And my goal is to get it to rain all the way down to LA and south of LA. When you look at the vegetation, that's not unreasonable to try. And so I'm confident this is what happened. I invite anyone to have me out. My motto is don't believe me, just watch. Okay, to sum up this video, I'm going to read the project summary in the outcomes area for P20, Project 20. This is talking about the big picture of what I was trying to accomplish by going to California in the first place. I went there to attract drought-breaking rains and send them southward across the state to eliminate wildfire season for the rest of the year. I actually lived there 2016, 17, and 18. I drove through the area and looked at those fires and their impacts. And I have since experienced the same effects of eliminating wildfire possibility working out of South Texas and Central Texas multiple times. What I'm doing is watering from these strategic locations to move moisture through fire-prone plants over hundreds of miles, depending on their connectedness or their intactness. And they do this just through transpiration and moisture sharing. In 2022, in California, after my transpiration waterings across the 3 counties in the northern areas you've seen, there were only 6 fires for the rest of the year in California. And in my area, there was only 1 fire. That fire burned just 80 acres. This last year, 2023, in my region, between Fort Bragg and south of LA, all the way over to Colusa, only 1 fire in 2023. It burned just 23 acres. And now listen to this. In 2021, about 27,000 acres burned in the same region in my zone. In 2020, over 150,000 acres burned in my zone, including in Los Angeles. In 2019, over 110,000 acres burned in the same zone. 2018, about 115,000 acres. 2017, more than 500,000 acres. 2016, about 14,500 acres. 2015, 1,275 acres in that area between where I watered and south of LA. There will be more on this in future videos. Now with over 50 experiments, doing this over numerous years, primarily over the last 2 summers, I think I've got this together and I really want to share it with the world. So thanks for checking out this video. Check out biointegrity.net. There'll be a Rainmakers project coming soon, and water your trees.